Crowded in here.
Wonder why.
I wonder why. Huh? Celebrate Argentina? I guess. I'm with you. You get the first question today.
Serena Coach, when your players going up against their former team for the first time tonight, do you have to have a conversation about tempering emotions or anything like that, or do you just let him go and do his thing?
I think each guy is different. There's some guys who, are more emotional, less emotional, older guys versus younger guys. All those things I think play a part in it. You think about the history of, the things that Donovan accomplished in Utah, how much he meant not only to that team, but to that community, and how important it was to him. You could understand there being some sort of feelings and emotions, just the human nature piece of it. But, we talk about a lot, and all Donovan has to be is himself, and that's good enough.
Because this group is so close, do you get a feeling that everybody kind of knows what this game means and would want, to win, I guess, for him type of thing?
Yeah, I think they understand it, but, as coaches, we don't change, and we don't try to add any more, or less pressure on situations. So if that's something that's happening, that may be happening, behind closed doors, but that's not our approach by any means. Is, like we've got a game to win like all the other 82, and we got to go out and try to get that done.
Chris Fedor, Cleveland.com. Hey, JB.
What's up, Chris?
Obviously, you've been around Donovan for the last few months now. What do you want people to know about him that they can't see on their own when they watch him as a basketball player?
Well, I would skip the basketball player part first, and just I would love people to understand what type of human being he is, and that's not just basketball coach speak or whatever it is. Like, he's an unbelievable person to be around every day. Ups, downs, roundabouts, 8-game winning streak, 5-game losing streak. He never changed, and he was always uplifting. He was always positive, and he's always thinking about other people first. And to me, that's more important than all this, put a ball in a basket stuff, because those are the types of people you want to surround yourself with. And, those are the type of people that, and you see it, his teammates want to play with him and play for him. Because he's that type of person.
Looking back on it, is it fair to say that you guys, where you were as an organization, you needed him?
I don't want to say anything that would slight the guys that were here with us last year. To me, and I hope this doesn't go unnoticed or unsaid, Lauri Markkanen is a huge part of how and why this organization was able to turn a page. Sometimes I feel like that's missed because he was only here, for a year, but that year was huge for the trajectory of this organization. And without that year, we're not in this position to do what we did in order to make that trade happen. So I don't want that to be missed at all. When you go through the business of trades and all that stuff, you never really think they're going to happen. Because so few of them actually do happen. But, we were happy with the group that we had here. We were in love with the team and the group that we had. When you have an opportunity, as heartbreaking as it can be because of the relationships that you have with guys, to add someone of Donovan's class, you can't really afford to say no. It was difficult, obviously, again, because of the relationships. But, his talent level and the background of the type of person that he was, that's something that you just can't turn down.
Tom Withers, Associated Press. Hey, JB.
What's up, Tom?
Did you get any Christmas shopping done yesterday?
Who?
You.
I just buy one gift, Tom.
That's it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
You done, man?
I'm done. Yeah. Yeah, she's taking care. I can't tell you that. Yeah. What type of?
Has Ricky progressed to 5-on-5? Where is he exactly in terms of the?
He's progressed. He has played some 5-on-5 stuff with the charge. The difficult part of it, obviously, is we're not doing a whole lot of 5-on-5. But he has spent time with the Charge and got into some 5-on-5, more one-on-one, obviously, since they've been out in Vegas in the showcase and all that stuff. But he is progressing. And again, it's just a matter of when he feels comfortable. And it's, the connection of mind, body, and the reps of not playing in a year to make sure that he's, confident and secure to go out there and do all the things that are necessary in an NBA game.
We touched on this before, but how good has it been just to have him around, even though he's not been playing?
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's a very rare group of people who have the presence that he has, and that guys just want to be around and listen to. And, Ricky is that guy, and they love to play with him even more. So we're looking forward to that for sure.
JB, watching you guys early in the year, run the 3-man set up at the top of the key. And honestly, it felt a little clunky early on, like who's getting it when it kind of stop. Now it looks much smoother and it's rolling through continually. What's been that progression and how have you guys figured that out?
I mean, it just was going to take time. And I think, that's where, the start to the year, had people kind of jumping to conclusions about how easy the season was going to go. But a lot of times, teams struggle to figure that out. And especially in the fourth quarters, like we talked about it, the first 3.5 quarters, the games can be easy. It's more free flowing, but to win games in the last 6 minutes, like you have to go through those experiences and figure out who's going to have the ball, how defenses are going to play you. How do you create shots? How do you not just bog it down so that those are the only people who are getting shots in the offense? So it was just going to take some time and experience. But again, our guys, wanted to make it work. So the more we did it, the more comfortable they got. And now they understand the reads and how to play out of it.
Kelsey, so the Athletic, JB, going back to Donovan as a human, the conversations you had after the trade with people surrounding him, kind of talking about his personality, like when he got here, what was that like to see what they'd said kind of translate and see the genuine personality that he does have?
It was, again, it's, in the NBA world, you listen to a lot of people, but you don't really trust a lot of people, right? Because there's always people working angles and trying to figure out, how it best serves them. So, you have an idea, right? But you're still a little guarded because you need to get face to face and spend time with people, and get to understand them and see how they work. So it was, our first conversation was so easy and he was so excited. Like I think he was going to, I believe maybe in Turks and Caicos with his family for his birthday or somewhere, I think it was. And, the team was going to Nashville and all he was asking about was how he can get to Nashville. And, his birthday wasn't as important, the trip wasn't as important, and you could just clearly see the priorities to him. And then when you see him around his teammates in Nashville, how they're interacting and how, he went above and beyond to just be a part of it. And I think that's the thing that, made it so easy and so comfortable is like he never put himself on an island. He never did anything different to separate himself. He always just dove headed first in to be a part of the group. And I think his teammates really appreciated that. And, as a coaching staff, we appreciate it. It's just fun to watch him.
Obviously, he was named Eastern Conference Player of the Week this week for the play last week. On the basketball side, up to this point, what has just stood out to you the way that he has been able to fit just so seamlessly with this group through the ups and downs and been a dominant player for you guys?
There's just so much that he is capable of. Again, I think people always highlight the scoring, and obviously he's elite at that. But, it's the opportune times that he has the ability to make those shots and make those plays. Like we've seen him, time and time again in fourth quarters or overtimes, when baskets are needed most, like his numbers aren't empty. Like his numbers are purposeful and meaningful. But, you also see like he can play the complete game. Obviously early in the season when Darius was out and then being able to play him kind of in that backup point guard role, he knows how to set his teammates up. He knows how to organize. He knows how to facilitate. He has that empathy for his teammates to understand, oh, so-and-so hasn't had a touch in a while. I need to run something to get him the ball. Like he has all those understandings of the game at a pretty high level.
Coach, it seemed like there were a lot of jumping to conclusions about this Jazz team early on. What have you seen as you've watched them play that made them so successful?
I mean, one, they have good players, and you can, and again, it's what people see. I've been lucky enough to coach half your team almost, but like I know how good Mike Conley is. I know how good Jordan Clarkson is. I know how good Lauri Markkanen is. Like these guys that we've been around, like, you step them and allow them to be on the floor together, like they're going to compete their tails off, and they're highly talented and highly skilled. So, from our side and people who have been around a bunch of those guys, like we never overlooked them because they're extremely talented. And then knowing Will and his ability to relate and his understanding of the game and put people in right places, and his ability to, communicate and build relationships and those things, like he was going to get them to think and believe that the team was the most important thing. And I think when you watch him, he lets individuals play to their strengths, but it's all within a team concept. And I think that's why they've been able to be successful.
Jeff Shedon, Newsroom. You just mentioned that heartbreaking was the word you used about that trade. So my question is, did you call Lauri? Did you talk to him? And what was that conversation like? How difficult is that for a coach when he played like he did for you?
I mean, it was a difficult conversation. And we'll get to some of it is private. But it was one of those calls that turned into, we weren't able to have calls. So it was just more texting back and forth. But, it's one of those things that we'll have a deeper conversation later on. But it was, obviously a little bit difficult in that moment.
And then when you had that summit with your assistant coaches, I think you referred to that, and then the trade happened, everything changed. So losing him, how did that affect the changes that you had to make?
He allowed us to play innovative basketball. He allowed us to, go in a different direction than the entire league was going. And, again, I don't want it to be missed on how important he was to it. Like he accepted things that were going to be extremely challenging and uncomfortable. We had him guard, anybody from Chris Paul to James Harden to Donovan Mitchell. Like we would put him on the other team's best players on the perimeter most nights so that we could just stay in our switching packages. And even though he was going to be in an uncomfortable position, he never once said no. And that allowed us as a coaching staff to do things that, the league just wasn't doing. And it helped catapult us, out of where we were, the frustrations of losing and all those things, and helped us get on track to get to where we're heading right now.
Hi, Sarah Todd, Deseret News. I want to keep talking about Lauri a little bit. I think a lot of people will see how he's playing now, and obviously he's kind of having a break season and wonder, like, why hadn't that been unlocked before? So could you kind of maybe illuminate why he's able to have the success he is now? And then are you seeing things that you're like, I wish we would have used that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if you go back to early in his career, like people were talking about him being the next Dirk Nowitzki. You know what I mean? So it's what people thought he was going to be capable of. And then, through the ups and downs of the NBA, things change. But we had a high level of appreciation for him here. And, our conversation with Lauri from day one was, you're not just a spot shooter. You're not just a floor spacer. Like we want you to take all the shots. And, I think he really appreciated that. And that led him into the summer that he had with his national team, where, again, he's featured, like he's bringing the ball up the floor. He's doing everything. And I think now you see in Utah, he's allowed to do all those things. So I think, it was a great opportunity for him to be a part of this and then lead to that summer where the confidence was growing. And then, to get to Utah where, they allow him to feature and play to his skill set.
Okay, it's gonna wrap, Coach.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
so much, JB.
Thank you, JB.